Welcome to the Two Fun Guys podcast. I'm your host, Brent Ruska.
And I'm Tony Haddad.
And we have a very, very special guest today. The man, the mystery from Two Brothers Organic Farms, Satya.
Thank you. Thank you, Brent. Thank you guys for having me over, man.
Yeah.
It's a pleasure.
You've been going on an American tour.
Yep.
Yeah. Tell me a little bit about that.
Also, Brent, we are farmers from India, and we come from a small village in the heartland of rural India. And we're organic farmers, and just thought about meeting community and consumers and people in the US, talking about the way farming is done organically in India since time immemorial. India has a farming history of over, I think, 3, 4, 5,000 years. And it was sustainable till the Green Revolution came in. And suddenly it's become unsustainable. So it's our experience in that kind of farming which we want to take forward to people in America, and also food making. We make food the way India made food a couple of 100 years back. So, sustainable traditional farming and sustainable traditional food making, and just meeting community and talking to them about it.
That's amazing. And I want to dive into what happened with that grain revolution and what you're trying to reverse. But first, we should give a backstory about how we know each other.
Oh yeah, this is crazy. I never thought I would meet you again after 5, 6 years,
Yeah.
and that too in the US. I remember last you were at the farm 5, 6 years back. You were on a workaway and you had chosen the farm to work with. And I remember you calling me and, just telling me that you want to come to the farm and see stuff. And when you came down, the first thing I asked you, did you see the Taj Mahal or did you see something in India? And you said, no, I just landed in Mumbai, took a cab till Pune and then taken a bus to the village. And I think you stayed on the farm for 20, 21 days. And you were there in the village when we were just starting our farming and whatever we were interested in doing. And you were with the family and, we had a good time. And that's when I saw you off 5, 6 years back. I never thought I would come to the US as a farmer and this profession would bring me to speak to consumers and I would meet you in person back in the US. So it's a very, for me, it's a circle, getting complete, meeting you in the US when you met us back in India in the village.
It's a special treat. And then when you go home, you'll start your podcast. Then me and Tony will go out there and we'll be on your podcast. And then the circle will truly be complete.
Yeah, I'm going to start the podcast, especially after meeting you, because I remember last when you were on the farm, you were the guy who started our Instagram channel. And now we have a couple of 100,000 followers. And I owe it to you because I remember you gave us the handle name and you were telling us that, guys, you should get onto Instagram. It's the thing. And that's how it started with us on Instagram.
Yeah, if you guys want to check out on his YouTube, just type in Two Brothers Organic Farms. The first YouTube videos we created together, because the things that were happening on that farm are very magical. And this is the thing that stopped me from being vegan and switched me over to actually understanding the circle of soil and animals and just bringing all of it together, right? Tell me a little bit about how you got into farming, because from what I understand, you and your brother, both have MBAs in business. How'd that all begin?
Yeah, so we are sons of farmers hailing from this small village in India.
What is that village, by the way?
The village is called Bhodani. It's Bhodani, Bhodani.
Okay.
It's in Indapur Taluka in Pune district in the state of Maharashtra in India. It's on the western side of India. And we were born in that village. But when we were age 4, I think our parents put us in a boarding school in the nearest city, which is Pune, with the intention that never get back to farming and the village, because somehow farming has become unsustainable in India. And I think it's the case all across the world. And it's not socially respectable in India as a profession. So they were like, you study in a boarding, you take a job in a city and move to larger cities and never come back to this landscape. And that's what we did. I completed my graduation in economics from Pune and then did my MBA from Pune University. I was followed by my younger brother, Ajinkya, and he did the same thing. And then we got working. I was working with Citibank for some time and he was working with HSBC. And we got working in the corporate world, ticking all those boxes that our parents and society wanted us to do. At a young age, I'd got a home on loan. I'd got a car on loan and, everything was set. But there was some sort of vacuum that we were experiencing, some sort of lull somehow not satisfied, not in that joyous state while doing this job, which was, kind of recommended by everybody. And, I remember going back to the village every summer holiday for those 2 months and swimming in the well. And we live in this 100-year-old house. It's called a Wada, which you have been. It's made of stone, mud, and wood. And there were cows and buffaloes in front of the house. And that experience was somehow very joyous. So when we thought, one life to live, do we keep doing what we are not interested in or try pursuing something that makes us happy? Farming came up as that thing that makes us happy. And we decided to leave our jobs and get back to farming. No idea of creating a business or a brand around it, but just about pursuing something that we love so passionately. And that's how we got back to farming 10 years back.
And before this, you were kind of going through a little bit of a spiritual search.
Oh, yes. Yeah. Questioning many things. There were many questions arising in our minds, and just the purpose of life. This question was kind of growing in my head, and I was questioning, why do we, and it might sound very weird, but why do we exist, kind of? And
I think all normal questions to start asking yourself.
yeah. But at that age, many people, when I looked around, no one was kind of questioning. They were enjoying what they were doing and just living the life. But for us, it was, one life to live. Am I doing what makes me happy? What is the purpose of my living? And, when I thought and questioned, all I could think is that I think the purpose is to just roam the world and see places. That's whatever nature or God has made so many places and so many geographies, and, see and come back. And then I was like, this might get over in 3 years' time. It won't take time for me to visit the entire world. And then why does a person live till 90? What is the objective of life? And that's when these questions got me reading stuff and, meeting people. And one of those parts which I found that gave me some logical, rational answers was the text of Vedanta. It's a spiritual literature that comes and dates back a couple of thousand years in India. And I got reading that, and one thing I immediately understood was for me to pursue my swadharma, and which is, something that I love doing, because that gives you a tailwind in your journey of life and in your spiritual involvement, vis-a-vis pursuing what is called as paradharma, which is not your innate nature, and that gives you headwind in whatever you're doing. So that's when I understood this and decided to pursue farming, which I always found as my area of interest, my swadharma.
I love that. So when you returned to the farm and decided this was something you wanted to do, what things were you seeing done incorrectly with farming?
Yeah, so when we came back, with no education in farming, and when we came to the farming landscape, some of the best sources of information for us were our co-workers on the farm. They are like not really literate, but they know data in terms of experience. And these co-workers were telling us that on the same farm, when my father started farming, inheriting the land from my grandfather, the productivity of land was close to 90 and 100 tons per acre of sugarcane. And now it's dropped down to 30 and 40 tons of per acre sugarcane. And I'm like, for the hundreds of years that farming was done, this productivity did not drop. But in the last 40, 50 years, this has halved. And another research, talking to farmers around us, told us that the water holding capacity of the soil had gone down by half. The biodiversity, both above and below the soil, had gone down by half. And things were just getting very challenging. And that's when I started questioning whether this is sustainable farming or not. And if I continue on this path, in a 20, 30 years time, the soil might lose all fertility, and I'll have to detach or, take up another profession. And for, as farmers, farming is not only a profession, it's a duty. It's a duty to grow food. We have a connection with soil. We treat the soil as a second mother. We famously call it in our state back as a black mother. And, this connection is very strong. And that disturbed me when I went into the thought that this farm will not be sustainable. And that's when we started looking for holistic and sustainable solutions of farming.
What is the importance of good soil, or what is good soil? Why is soil important?
So, soil is the medium in which all living organisms and plants grow. And many people think and relate soil to dirt. But when I studied this, I realized that soil is living. A teaspoon of healthy soil, which is full of organic matter and the right microbiology, has more living organisms than humans on Earth. So, 1 teaspoon of healthy soil contains over 8 billion microorganisms, and that's how healthy soil is. And I came to know the relation between these microorganisms in soil and the fertility of soil. So, simply put, it's a very simple process how nature functions. The soil has all the nutrient required for the tree to grow or for the plant to grow for the next 100,000 years. The deeper you go, the concentration of these nutrients double. But these nutrients are in an unavailable format. So it's like I'm giving you wheat to eat, grains. You cannot eat directly grains. You have to grind it, make it flour, and bake a bread, and then you eat the bread. So you have converted unavailable format into an available format and consumed it. Similarly, these nutrients were in an unavailable format, but modern agricultural sciences and modern practices were not really teaching us how to convert it to an available format. And when I studied soil microbiology, I understood that it is these microorganisms, your bacteria, fungi, nematode, protozoa, who convert all these nutrients to available formats and make it available for the tree's white root system. And the tree takes it and grows into a healthy tree, producing good organic fruits and vegetables, and it grows well. And then I realized that it is these first 6 inches of soil or soil has to be focused on as a farmer. What grows is a byproduct of the fertility of the soil.
So what was causing the decrease in quality in the soil?
So increasingly in the last 40, 50 years, conventional agricultural practices like using, chemical fertilizers, nitrogen-based fertilizers, acidic-based fertilizers like urea and the other micro and macronutrients which are in a chemical form. These literally burn the carbon in the soil and they kill the microorganisms, making the plant depend more and more on them instead of promoting this microbiology and making the plant depend less on the farmer and more on the ecosystem that's below the root zone. These chemical fertilizers kill, they burn carbon, and they make the soil infertile.
Okay, and that's how you started using food forests.
Yeah, that's one of the pillars on which organic farming rests. We also came to know that monocropping is not really healthy for the soil. Like humans, we need an aunt, an uncle, a brother, a sister. So similarly in the plant world, you need different varieties of plants that grow amongst each other. There is a lot of give and take. Some are monocots, some are dicots. Somebody's sequestering nitrogen, somebody's taking that nitrogen. The root systems speak to each other. There's exchange of microbiology. And there's so much of it going when you have a natural mix. And that's how nature is. Nature will never monocrop. You go to a jungle, it has a plethora of varieties of trees growing. And then we decided to replicate that nature's model and design on our farm. And we started planting forests, but of trees that gave us fruits. So we call it a food forest. And, gave away the idea of monocropping and got on polycropping and planting these various varieties of fruit trees and stuff. That's one of the pillars of organic farming, yeah.
Okay, what are the other pillars?
Oh, yeah. So there are broadly 4 pillars of organic farming. You start off with culturing the soil or inoculating the soil with healthy bacteria, assuming that the practices have ruined, microbial life in the soil. You have to administer the soil with some amount of microbiology. So the best source of microbiology is a cow's dung or animal dung, and cow dung and cow urine. And we make a sort of fertilizer with this. We take that dung, put it in water, add some jaggery, which is sugars, and some flour, which is carbohydrates, and increase the number of this microbiology in their dung, and then take that liquid and just administer it on the ground. Once that microbiology is in the ground, you have to ensure enough carbon is given to that microbiology to grow. And what is carbon? Carbon is nothing but your dried leaves, twigs, prunings, cuttings of the plant, which farmers burn. It's a big problem in India. Our capital is Delhi, and during the harvest season of wheat, the airport is shut for a week because farmers around Delhi burn the waste that comes after harvesting the wheat. And it amazes me because this carbon is gold, which needs to go back in the soil. This is eaten by microbiology. It turns the soil fertile, and farmers are burning it. So that is the first step, where you administer microbiology and you let it grow. The second step is mulching. So all the dried leaves, twigs, prunings, cuttings need to be mulched on the soil. These are food for the microbiology and also form a layer that prevents water from evaporating and going in the atmosphere. And that means you need less water. And it also, creates microcosms or micro environments so that a lot of other living creatures can live in them. That is the second pillar. The third pillar is, like you mentioned, food forests, not monocropping, but polycropping with a variety of fruits, vegetable, tubers, legumes, lentil, pulses, millets, flowers. You create a veritable food forest. And the fourth pillar is you plant what we call as a forest wall around the farm. So you plant trees that grow to a height of 40 feet that do not have long branches like bamboo and Australian pine. So they do not allow the winds to blow in the farm with high speeds. They cut the speed of the wind, and they create a microclimate of sorts that's beneficial for crops to grow. So these are the four broad pillars, yeah.
I love that. That's cool. I have a question on the fertilization part. Is there a reason human dung isn't used?
Oh, it's not in great quantities. So cows.
We'll see about
Cows.
that.
Yeah, cows have great quantities of that dung, and somehow I think it's what humans eat is a lot of rubbish. So their dung or their human waste is not properly digested. It's acidic in profile, whereas animals eat a lot of natural stuff. They ruminate. Their digestive systems are better, longer, and their dung is more neutral in the profile, and so more microbiology live in their dung. So
This is you using cow dung is what opened my eyes to the importance of animals on a farm and how they're a piece of the ecosystem. And I think when I was there, we would clean the dung stalls and we would push it into the pit, right? And they would go out every single day and go graze, and then they'd come back. And I think you taught me something along those cows. The indigenous cows are much different than a lot of cows that are maybe in Europe or in the US. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Oh yeah, when you were there and we were working in the cow shed, there is a breed of cows that we keep on the farm, and that breed is called Ghee, Gir, and it belongs to a variety, or the Indian indigenous cows variety. There are 32 surviving varieties of Indian indigenous cows. Amongst the most famous is the Ghee. You have the Kankraj, Sahiwal, the Khillar. There are many varieties, and these have a history of a couple of thousand years.
And they're beautiful. They're
beautiful.
They're big. They kind of remind me of the Longhorn a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah. So these cows, were there in India. But lately, in the last 40, 50 years, especially during the milk revolution, a lot of the Jersey and Holstein cows were imported, some from the US and some from Europe, because they yielded more milk. And farmers, are paid for gallons and quantity and not for quality. Government told farmers to keep these cows so that they'll get more productivity, and farmers kept them. But lately, there's been a lot of research, and there's this famous New Zealand-based scientist called Keith Woodford, who's done a lot of research and written a book called Devil in the Milk, where he says that the Indian indigenous cows and an African variety called Zebu have the A2 protein in them, and the Jersey and Holsteins have the A1 protein in them. And he's done research on the milk part, on the nutrition part, and he relates a couple of diseases if you keep consuming A1 milk. And that's come to everybody's attention now. But when you think back as a farmer, dung is what is used to fertilize the soil. And when I have been observing, dung of the Jersey and Holstein cow, like I said, it's not best suited for our geography, for our fodder. It comes from a different climate zone, and it doesn't have as long as an intestine like the Indian cow has. It doesn't ruminate a lot, and that's why its dung is little watery. It's acidic. The number of microbiology that can survive is less. And in Indian cow dung, the number of microbiology, it falls like a cake. So you can easily imagine it's well digested. And that is a house for a lot of microbiology. And the quantity of microbiology is what gives the potency to the dung, so as to say. And an Indian indigenous cow can eat anything. When you were on the farm, they were eating dry fodder. We had a drought for 2-3 years. They're really very hardy, and they can eat neem leaves and whatever grows locally and survive. And that's important for a farmer. So these reasons combined, I focus on working with Indian indigenous cows only.
That's super interesting because in the US, we used to have bison everywhere, buffalo. And the local farm out here, they use bison. And when I was out there, they would say the same thing. Every foot or two, they would leave these kind of dry patties. And they must be very similar. They're more of like our indigenous cow. And that's why the land was so prosperous when they were roaming everywhere, because it was a natural way of fertilizing the land. Do you notice the health of Indians being different when they're eating from old school ways of or the modern dirt crops versus when they're eating with rich soil?
Oh yeah, there's a difference. When I look back at my grandfather's generation, my grandfather, my mother's father, he just expired 2 years back. He lived till 103.
Wow.
And did not have any chronic disease, no diabetes, no blood pressure, nothing. And he ate directly what grew on the farm. He was an old school guy, so as to say. He drank milk of the Indian indigenous cow. He ate ghee. He ate curds. He ate what grew on the farm. And, he ate bread prepared from millets or from native grains, and not only wheat that has become a norm in India also now. And there was diversity on his plate. He ascribed to what his mother made and how she made food and what she ate, and he ate the similar things. In the last 30-40 years, a lot of Western influence of what food is and stuff has influenced Indians also, and it's a fashion of sorts to eat westernized foods. I'm not saying it's wrong or good or bad, but the essence of what our traditional food is lost. And now you have many youngsters getting chronic diseases, getting autoimmune diseases, which were not a case with the earlier generation. And you have diabetes, which is, India has become the diabetes capital of the world. And that's
really,
wow. It is the diabetes capital of the world because of the density of people who have diabetes. And it's a bad state of affairs now,
How's your health changed?
Oh, that's a nice question. I was, while doing a job in the city, running around helter-skelter, doing something I do not love, sitting and working, for prolonged hours, it started giving me a back pain. And I come from a boarding school where sports was an intrinsic part of our life, and I played football and athletics. And I never thought at age, when I was, I think 26, 27, my back pain started. And I thought it's some usual back pain. So I just pulled it. And after, I think 6-8 months, I couldn't walk 10 meters. I had to sit down, and my entire leg used to pain. I couldn't walk types. And when I sat down for 2 minutes, it used to release. And again, I used to walk 10 meters and sit. And then I realized there's something horribly wrong. And I went to a doctor in a famous hospital in Pune, and they got me checked and done an MRI and stuff. And he said that I have what is known as a disc herniation. It's loosely called a slip disc. And my L3 and L4, he said, is badly herniated, and I need to undergo a surgery immediately. And given the background that I was of in a boarding school, I thought this is impossible. At age 28, my back is broken. And being a sportsman in school and college, and that troubled me. I didn't go in for that surgery, and I went and saw a chiropractor and did some physio. The pain released a bit, but when I got to farming and I did what I was loving doing and what I was so passionate about, the pain started gradually moving away from my life. And today, I can jog, like I was sharing with you yesterday, I can jog 15 to 18 miles. I jog every alternate day, 5 miles, and I can pick up weight on the farm. I can work for, till I walk 26, 27,000 steps a day on the farm. There is no back pain left. And I attribute it to two things. One is to physically moving around and working on the farm, and that strengthens, the leg muscles, the back muscles. And secondly is to doing what I love. And I believe that the energy flow, if gets stuck if you're not doing what you love, and if you're not doing what you love, it flows out to the universe and comes back to you, and that is above pain. And these two things have benefited me a lot. And I have not done the surgery yet. If I get my back scanned, I'll yet have those two herniated discs. But this would have been something that's impossible, for doctors to predict, that I could jog and run and work on the farm without doing a surgery.
Wow, that's quite the story. So you returned back to the farm. You started working on the soil. What were the next things that occurred after, getting the soil back on track? What were some of the things you started to grow?
Yeah. So when we came back, I realized that monocropping is not the norm. Then you plant a mixed variety of crops. I also realized that what my grandfather grew was, that was not being grown by the present generation. He was growing some sorts of millets. He was growing some sorts of fruits that present generation was not growing. And then it made me look on, native heirloom varieties. And I graduated towards growing native heirloom varieties of all kinds of pulses, legumes, lentils, millets, and realized the importance of it, because that native variety has had a genetic memory of close to 3,000-4,000 years. It knows how to best survive in that climate, in that scanty rainfall, and knows best what nutrition is required by people living in that vicinity. There is a memory, which it knows well. And I realized that. And I realized that the modern hybrid GMO is not yet very prevalent in India. It's more prevalent in the US. But anything that science has tampered on and fiddled around with, the main objectives were to just produce more. And there was no emphasis on what quality or what nutrition that variety had or that species had. And they have altered stuff to such a degree where there's more coming out of the farm, but it's more faff and less nutrition that's coming out of the farm. And when you eat it as a consumer, it's not satiating you as much as real food should. And that's causing, a hell lot of other problems. So I graduated towards growing native heirloom varieties, and we have a seed bank that we share with farmers whom we work with, and we focus on growing heirloom.
So yesterday you taught us that most ghee that you can find in the US is fake. Can you go over that one more time? And what should people be looking for? Because now ghee is becoming really popular. People are using it for cooking as a healthier alternative, but apparently it's not what they think it is.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm surprised when I'm in the US for the last 18 days, and I've been in the Bay Area and then in Los Angeles and now in Austin. And I'm just come to meet people, talk to them, and visit stores, the very famous ones and the other organic ones and general stores. And I've been looking at ghees on the shelf and reading their back of pack labels. And nearly every brand and every ghee is nothing but butter oil. And it's being called ghee. So the concept of ghee, even not only in the US, but even in India also, has graduated or, kind of fallen to a level where butter oil is called ghee. And that's not how my grandmother made ghee, and that's not how ghee was made in India. Ghee is something that originated in India. It has a history of over 4,000-5,000 years in India. It's written in folk tales, it's written in spiritual literature, it's written in so many things, And I saw my grandmother make ghee by taking cow milk or buffalo milk and, kind of boiling it and letting it turn lukewarm, inoculating it with curd, live lactic acid bacilli, and then turning that milk to curds entirely. And the next day in the morning between 4 a.m. to 6 a.m., churning the curds to get white butter, and then melting that white butter to get ghee. And I'm like, if it was so easy just to skim the milk of cream and to make butter and then melt the butter to make ghee, which is what majority of manufacturers do. Why did my grandmother or why did people in India traditionally make ghee in this 5-step process? If it's cumbersome, but why did they make this? And then started reading a lot of science around what cultured ghee is, and it's growing in the US. And then now science tells us that when you culture milk with lactic acid bacilli, it breaks many a complex protein and substances to simpler forms. And this ghee, the cultured ghee, if you make it in the 5-step process, is the only ghee that melts below human body temperature. The butter oil ghee melts above human body temperature. This cultured ghee has butyric acid, which is good for your gut microbiome. It increases your what is loosely called the good cholesterol, and the butter oil ghee actually helps in increasing your bad cholesterol. And Ayurveda, the ancient Indian science of medicine and well-being, tells us to eat ghee every day, 1 teaspoon in your rice, dal, and in your food, on your chapati, naan, rotis, on your bread, and just have it like medicine. It's so potent. But recently, there was research in the middle which said, there are heart risks if you eat ghee. And then I relate that, those heart risks are because people are eating butter oil as ghee and not the real ghee. So that's ghee. That's a real ghee, man.
So if someone's in the store, how can they find real ghee?
You should look out for ghee that are made by cultured milk or by churning curds. That is something you should ask for. And in case you have access to A2 milk made that's cultured to make ghee, that is something you should look out for. Or then you can pick up goat ghee that is cultured and made into ghee by churning the curds and removing white butter. So the word cultured is something everybody should look out for while buying the ghee.
Got it.
So organic farming, I want to touch on this because I think has everything to do with what you're talking about. When we were there, you were talking about some of the certifications that your farm was getting. Is there a difference in just like USDA organic versus other organic certifications? So when people are trying to look, okay, I'm trying to find food that's made from soil that has these nutrients, that is much healthier for me and is helping the land, what are people looking for? And what are the difference between the different certifications?
Also, certifications, you have country-wise certifications and regulations. The country puts some norms. So USDA and India certification, I think 80-90% is the same, except that when you want to sell your products as organic certified in the US, you have to enroll with a certification body in the US and the auditors come all the way, and it's a costly process. But otherwise, it requires 4 years to get your farm certified. You do it the India certified way or the US certified way, and you get the organic certification. But lately there has been awareness that organic in the US, there are some permitted chemicals and external stuff that you can use and yet call yourself organic, and it's allowed in the certification process. You can use hybrid and GMOs and yet call yourself a certified organic product. And I feel those are the shortcomings of the certification. There have been these holes drilled into and these provisions made where some sort of malpractice can come into the certification process also. So what we follow is natural farming, and which is now famously called regenerative organic farming in the US. And you have certificates for regenerative organic farming. Now we here don't have it in India. We are trying to tie up with certification bodies, and it's a costly affair. But I believe that when a brand works with its farmers and spends time with the farmer on the field, maintaining data via videos, photos, like the way we do it, and maintain that transparency, that is very important. And I just wish that the term regenerative organic farming grows, because that doesn't mean that you can put a hybrid or a GMO and grow it and call it organic. That doesn't mean that you're allowed to use the X number of chemicals that are allowed by organic certifications. So I feel organic is slightly abused now, and regenerative organic is what's growing and what we should focus on.
And I think you at the time mentioned you had a French certification.
Oh,
It
yes.
was like a different standard of some sort.
Yeah, so our farm is certified by EcoCert, and that's a French multinational which has an office in India. And from the last 7 years, we've been in touch with them and getting our farm certified every year.
Wow. Let's go over all the stuff you grow on the farm.
But yeah, so there's the food forest. I think when you came, it was just kind of planted and it was growing. It's done 4 years, and we are going to start harvesting from the food forest. So we have a lemon orchard. These are these Indian indigenous lemons. They're called the Kagzi variety. Even in India, many farmers have switched to the modern hybridized, or the kind of the ones that agricultural universities propagate, which is Sai Sarbati. But these Indian lemons are, they have a skin that's like paper. They're very nutritious. They're rich in vitamin C. They last for 40 years. And we're making some amazing lemon pickle, the traditional Indian way, oil-free lemon pickle, which is an excellent probiotic with these lemons. Then we have some sugarcane on the farm. This sugarcane again is a native variety 86032. It's grown the organic way, and then we take that sugarcane and crush it the traditional way, and then boil that sugarcane juice over an iron pan with okra extract, which acts like a coagulant to remove the molasses, and then make jaggery. Jaggery has a history of 5,000 years. Lately, people started consuming refined sugar, which doesn't have a history of more than 100 years. And refined sugar is again highly abused because it has over 80 chemicals to make that sugar look white and bright and the way it is today, and it's become a health hazard of sorts. But jaggery is a traditional way of making sugarcane juice into a sweet alternative, and it has fiber. It's rich in iron, copper. So we make jaggery on the farm with our sugarcane. Then there's peanuts that we're growing. These are again of the heirloom variety. They have less allergens. We split the peanut, remove the endosperm, we sand roast it, and then stone ground it to make peanut butter that has no binder or filler. And I realized when I was reading labels and getting these peanut butters tested in my laboratory that most of the peanut butters have something called a filler, which looks like peanut butter, which tastes like peanut butter, but it's not made of peanuts. And that was stunning.
I wonder if that's why so many people in the U.S. have peanut allergies.
Yeah, that's one of the major reasons.
Well, we eat a ton of peanut butter. So we definitely have to get some of that peanut butter. I bet you could combine the Jaggery and the peanut butter. Should make like a special.
Yeah, we have that. It's
yeah?
Yeah,
perfect.
It's the sweetened peanut butter.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, the Jaggery.
Available on your website.
Yeah.
I think Jaggery is going to become very popular in the U.S. because you have all these different like agave nectar and all that. But this actually has it sounds like it releases a little bit slower. You can still get that sweetness and you get all these other health benefits.
Yeah, it's lower in GI than sugar. Yeah.
Yeah. And then
you've used the word heirloom a couple times in reference to different foods. And I've heard of heirloom tomatoes, but I haven't heard of heirloom anything else. So what does that mean?
So heirloom means basically what your or my grandfather was growing as farmers. And it's come to him from his grandfather or his father, and it's passed on from generation to generation. The seeds of that variety of plant that I've passed on from families from generation to generation, that is heirloom. So like you have heirloom jewelry, I think, something that is passed on from generation to generation.
That makes sense. The word heirloom.
Yeah.
Got it.
I only know this because when weed shops opened in Washington, there were heirloom varieties. And I dug into the guy. I was like, what is this? And he's like, these are the original genetic strains. And when you had them, they were way more balanced because they had the CBD and whatnot. And then there's the genetically modified cannabis that's just like super high in THC, but it doesn't have all the blend of the terpene. So it's like how nature designed it to be.
You see, kids, you can learn things by doing drugs. Just take it from Brent.
Yeah. If you talk to the guy at the counter, he'll tell you everything.
That's interesting. So yeah, Jaggery seems like the best alternative to sugar that we have out there.
Yeah, I feel it's an amazing alternative. It tastes so wholesome. It has that fiber, it has volume, and it's nutritious to an extent since it's rich in copper and iron. And the way it's made, Jaggery can be made by marginal farmers. Refined sugar cannot be made by marginal farmers. It's made in large industrial setups. But if I have a small setup, a fire-powered oven, an iron pan, and some sugarcane growing, I can make my own Jaggery. So it's that small, beautiful concept. Yeah.
Wow.
How many products do you have total now?
Well, now it's been I think close to 9-10 years that we have been growing and making stuff out of those products. And today the basket consists of over 70-75 products. Yeah, every product has a story. Every product represents a geography, a tradition, a culture, and a history of a couple of 100 years on how it's been made.
I mean, it's incredible what you built, because I think yesterday you were telling us there's farmers, then there's businessmen, and you have this kind of blend of the two. Can you talk a little bit about growing these product lines and expanding? I know you help farmers all over the country learning these practices.
Yeah. So what started off as our pursuit of passion and happiness and got us experimenting with organic farming and doing stuff that we thought was holistic and sustainable, kind of generated an interest in farmers around us, because during a drought year, my farm was being able to hold more water. My crops were not dying. During a flood year, my farm was more porous because of the microbiology and earthworms in the farm. And, all the heavy rainwater just percolated down towards recharging the water table down. Whereas my neighbor's farm, it just ran away with the topsoil, since their farms have turned hard pans and which do not allow any water to percolate through them. And these experiments, and then we were also able to sell our produce at the right price, to the right consumer. They generated a lot of interest in farmers around us, because we were needing less resources to plant, and our farm was climate change resilient to an extent. And they came up to us and got talking. And over the last 8 years, we have trained over 16,000 farmers in India. And we are working with over 2,000 marginal farmers across 16 states and 2 union territories in India. And that's something we're very attached to, because being farmers ourselves, we consider it as a duty to handhold another farmer who wants to turn organic and help him become sustainable, and not be at the whim of climate change and market price change and soil fertility decreasing and stuff. And on the front side, while we were making this amazing range of food and serving it to our consumers, we have had cases where many of our consumers, it's created a remarkable positive effect in their health. People with chronic diseases, with some forms of cancers, with so many other ailments, when they eat good food, it's had a positive impact in their tests and in how they feel and their health. And this, set of people have grown to over 200,000. We serve over 200,000 customers in India, and 15-20% of them are in the US. And, they send us not only thank you notes, but they send us life-changing messages as testimonials. Every day we get a couple of them. And, like I'm in the US for 40 days. I have not booked a single hotel for these 40 days. It's consumers who food has connected us with, have become hosts because they love the work we do, and it's created a remarkable impact in their health and in the way they live, in their lives. So these number of people who are positively affected by the food is growing. So somewhere I see that what we do is nothing but increasing the base of farmers who can farm organically, take care of their soil, and also catering to a wide number of conscious consumers whose health we can impact positively. So Two Brothers Organic Farms suddenly becomes that platform that enables both these people to grow and touch their lives. Yeah.
It sounds like you're fulfilling, what is the word? Your spiritual, what is the word you used?
Oh, the Vedanta.
Yeah, Vedanta.
What is that for everybody?
So Vedanta is it's Vedanta. Veda means knowledge, and Anta means end. So the word signifies end of knowledge. So these are some texts that were written by, there's no author for them, a couple of 1,000 years back. And they are the culmination of knowledge for a human being. They ultimately teach you on how to pursue the self and attain self-realization of sorts. And they tell you, in short, that you are not the body, not the mind, not the intellect, and how you are the larger being and you are the consciousness of sorts. So it just in practical world it teaches you to live for a higher cause, and also teaches you that if you do that and live that way, the joy and happiness is unbound, in your personal life, and there's a lot of purpose, in what you do, and it's amazing that knowledge is sublime. It's absolutely something that has been my and Ajinkya's life goal, and farming has been a way to meet that that end out there. So like Brent said, it's like Vedanta. Yeah, I would call it the ikigai of our life is farming, and doing that which makes us happy will make us grow spiritually, is what I believe in.
I love that. Is there anything like a main message that you want to give to the world or anybody that is here listening now? I'm sure there's a lot.
No pressure.
Yeah. No pressure. This is your...
No, this is, I mean, everybody's life individually can be a message to be lived and to be seen. And I have pursued my passion. Ajinkya has pursued his passion, and it looks like we're living a different life. I would tell youngsters and people who are starting their career that pursue your passion to the T. In the US, it's encouraged a lot, and back in India, it's not encouraged. You are influenced a lot by society, parents, and what's trending. So, however unglamorous, farming is very unglamorous, however out of fashion, but, something in you says that this is what you love doing. This is what you want to get up to every morning and do. I feel one should pursue that. That is your unique, place in this world, and that is something that you would do best and contribute towards the world and towards keeping you happy, which is your foremost responsibility. You have to be happy. You have to be joyous all the time. That's, I think, very simply put, the basis of living. And as a farmer, as somebody who grows sustainably and works with farmers and produces food that's free of any chemicals, I would tell consumers to know their food better, to know their farmer better. You know so many other things. You know your tech company, you know your Apple mobile company, you know your shirt company, you know so many other things. But do you know the farmer who produces your food? Have you been to his farm? Is there a connection? There are farmers markets. You should visit farmers markets, speak to the farmer, know how food is being grown. Growing food is a life essential skill. You're working with nature, all the 4-5 elements of nature. There's fire, there's sun, there's water, there's soil. When you touch it, when you work with it, it helps you grow personally, and it opens up so many other dimensions in your life. So I would tell people, know your farmer, know how food is grown, and read the back of pack of labels and choose clean food. It's like voting. When you vote for clean food, you're voting for a farmer who's practicing clean agriculture that's sustainable in the longer run.
Amen. But I want to go back to this Vedas and spirituality. I want to know if you've experienced any, experiences that just, are always going to be with you, that you've had while being on the farm. Out farming, it's a spiritual practice. It's your calling. It's what you're doing. You're helping a lot of people with their health. Are there any, moments that caught you in awe that you could share?
Yeah, I think when I learned that I have to pursue my swadharma, which is my area of interest, and it'll help me in my spiritual growth. Both me and Ajinkya took this call to do farming, which in itself is a very gutsy call, to leave a job in a city and to come back to a village in rural India and start farming. So that gave us the energy to come back and do it. And when we started doing farming, there was no vision of how this will shape up, how our lives will be going forward, whether we'll be able to afford the standard of living that we were living. Our families will be disturbed if we don't earn money. There are many hardships, and all these uncertainties were there. But when we did, what we loved, and were just reading the literature and living that life, things started shaping up. When you came to the farm 5 years back, We were just doing some products and selling at the farmers markets, and never knew how things would go around. But today, in the village, we employ over 150 people, giving them all the social benefits. We're helping over 2,000 farmers. We're giving good food to 200,000 customers in the front end, and that is so fulfilling. And in a country like India, where resources are not as plenty, we have been managed to do this on our own to a large extent. And I look back and I think, if I had planned it also, it wouldn't have rolled out the way it has rolled out today. And I attribute this because farming is not the goal. It's a means to the goal, and our goal has always been to discover ourselves and pursue spiritual evolvement and progress, and farming is one of those paths that leads to it. And in between, there have been such realizations and such experiences that it's crazy. It's absolutely crazy how things unfold, and Ajinkya calls it a daily unfoldment. We don't know what lies in for tomorrow. We just live to our best extent today, and every day is a surprise, and every day there is we're meeting amazing people. How it turns out, from where they come, how they connect, and how they help us take the cause forward is difficult to fathom. But it's a daily unfoldment, and we're loving it. It's an adventure we take every day.
Well, I want to thank you so much for being here. Incredible to have you all the way from back in India.
Thank you to both of you all. And for me, it's amazing to meet you back, Brent, because in the village, many people here remember you. You're one of the first so-called guys to come from the US and sit in the farm and just observe what we were doing. And I never thought I would meet you again. And such a pleasure that we got to spend this hour to talk to each other. Thank you for having me over, man.
Yes. And then give a shout out. Where do people find your products? How do they connect with you if they want to learn about farming, eat better, all of that?
Where do people buy Jaggery and good ghee?
Yeah, you can visit our website. It's called twobrothersindiashop.com. Just put on Google Two Brothers Organic Farms and you'll get the website, and you can order from there. And, if you want to experience the farming that we are doing and follow us closely, we're very active on our Instagram handles. It's called Two Brothers Organic Farms India on Instagram. It has a blue verified tick, and, we put up all our daily experiences, farming practices, meeting farmers, selling, doing whatever we are doing, very raw, very uncut, and as it is. Yeah, so these two things you can find us out.
Perfect. Thank you so much for coming, Satya.
Thank you, man. Been a pleasure.
Thank you.